Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, I want to say thank you very much for all the love and the positive vibes that you guys have been sending and communicating on the comments regarding the reaction videos. Thanks a lot for that. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, now's the time to do so. Right now, guys, I'm going to piss a lot of you off. Let me first start out by saying that my personal favorite album by the Deftones is undoubtedly Diamond Eyes, for a number of reasons. Okay, now I will also concede and accept the fact that Pony is probably their most iconic album. There's no two ways about that. That is their main album that broke out many years ago, and that is the one that's always going to remain as the most iconic Deftones album, White Pony. Right? If you think about Deftones, the White Pony album is synonymous with the title Deftones. I'm not arguing about that. But what I would like to say today, and I'm going to be quite honest and direct about it, Ohms is Deftones' best album. I said it. I'm going to tell you why. There's a number of factors that go into the actual body of the album. Now, as I mentioned, Pony is most probably the most iconic album, right? But iconic albums don't necessarily mean the greatest albums, right? Like, if I can use Tool as an example, Tool's most iconic album is Lateralis, but in my opinion, Via Inoculum is their greatest album. I feel the same way about Ohms and Deftones, and I'm going to tell you why. If you break down everything, if you go through all the tracks, this track list is absolutely nuts. It's nuts, right? It reminds me of Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, where, in a sense, you cannot find a bad track on that album. That is a great album, in my opinion. Remember, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just sharing my opinion with you. You are more than welcome to disagree or feel differently. But I'm going to give you my reasons as to why I feel this is the greatest album. The track list, like I touched on now, insane track list. Every single song has magic in it. Every single song. I cannot find one song on this album that doesn't have something special about it. That's a great album. That's a masterpiece album right there, right? The maturity in their music and their sound has evolved to the point where I feel that this album is almost flawless in a sense. It's absolute perfection. So right now, I want to actually give you my full review of the album in entirety, and I'd like to touch a little bit on all the tracks just to give you my feedback on everything, because I've only reacted to about 5 or 6 of them. Starting off with Genesis. I must be quite honest, guys, and say that Genesis was probably the track that grew on me. It took a while to grow on me, is what I'm trying to say. When the track came out, I loved the heavy element in the verses, but I felt like the chorus felt a bit flat-ish for me compared to the rest of the track, or compared to what I was actually anticipating or hoping for. However, I must be honest and say that out of all the tracks, I think Genesis has grown on me a lot. I think that everything makes sense when you listen to it in its actual placement that the band intended, right? When you listen to the album in that sequence, everything makes perfect sense, including Ohms, which I'll touch on last. But Genesis comes in with the crunchy verse riffs, and I think that's quintessential Deftones right there for you. I love what they did there, and it was an all-round great track in my opinion. Then you have a track like Ceremony, which is number 2 on the list, and for me, the chorus on Ceremony is probably among the best choruses on the entire album. So this is what I'm getting at. So you've got Urantia, which is number 3, and again with Urantia, it's got the crunchy verses, but that chorus, it just it just takes you away completely. When I heard that chorus for the first time, something inside me just melted. It just melted. And that is what I mean when I say that every single song has something special about it, right? Error, the next track, number 4. The midsection towards the end of that song, you can just get lost in it. You get absolutely lost in that track. That is a very, very special song. I've read a lot of reviews and I've watched a lot of videos where you guys are sharing your thoughts on the album. And Error seems to be the track that many, many people regard as the top track on the album. Spell of Mathematics. I mean, guys, can we just pause here for a second and just talk about the song properly? The Spell of Mathematics, in my opinion, is probably the most mature piece of work on this album. It doesn't have a genre. For me, it feels like the track is completely timeless and it's free of any sort of pigeonhole. You can't pigeonhole this track into a genre. It's so wide open. It's so dark, but it still has a groove to it. I don't know how they pulled this track off. How do they get something to sound so dark, but still something that you can picture people dancing to in the same song? It's almost like Numa from Tool in that midsection there where the tablas start going and Danny does his thing on the drums and it's completely entrancing. You can actually picture people dancing around a bonfire on the beach or something, which is quite bizarre for me when it comes to a metal song especially. The Spell of Mathematics is for me a top 3 track on this album. It's a mature piece of music and I applaud them, really. I must give you a comment. I felt like the Spell of Mathematics, that end groove piece, right? Where it actually reminds me of the scene where in Pulp Fiction where John Travolta does heroin and he goes on a solo ride just before he features Uma Thurman, who's Mia, if I'm not mistaken, in that movie. I'm gonna try and post a link to that scene and I want you to try and match up that specific sound to that specific scene and then you tell me if it's not absolutely made for each other. It's insane because that is, I don't know if you recall on my Spell of Mathematics video, that's exactly what I said. I said this is the type of song that you would want to spark up to and take a drive through the city. And as I listened to it 3 or 4 times, that scene of Pulp Fiction just popped into my mind and I felt like that is the scene for that specific piece on Spell of Mathematics. Beautiful song, absolutely beautiful song. Pompeii. Remember when I said Pompeii? What an idiot. Anyway, Pompeii. The song is so odd and random and weird and funky and dark and heavy and so gorgeous at the same time. It's so weird, but it's so original. Can you believe it? They are producing such original music this late in their career. You have to give them respect for this song, for this album actually. It's so well done. It's so well done. The Link is Dead. I feel I hear some Papa Roach in the song for some reason. I don't know why. It sounds like Infest, the album Infest. It sounds like it could have come off that album with a little Deftones mix in there as well. And I love that fact. I love that factor. Radiant City. Okay. So Radiant City was the one that was hyped up the most by a lot of the guys and girls. For me personally, Radiant City was probably one of the weaker tracks. Not that it's a weak track, it was just one of the weaker tracks of the entire album. And I'm going to tell you why. I felt like while the riff was cool, especially opening up with that bass, I felt like Radiant City was a bit repetitive on that specific riff. It just kept on coming back and it lacked a little bit of imagination on that song. The chorus was cool and everything, but it still comes back with that verse, and after 3, it doesn't have a lot of replay value. You can listen to it once, but you can't listen to it after each other like you can with absolutely every single other track on this album. So while it's not a bad track, it's not something that has a lot of replay value in my opinion. but in sequence of the album, I mean, come on guys, this is masterfully done. Okay, next track is Headless. I mean guys, come on, you saw my Headless video, and this is definitely one of the top 3 as well for me on this album. Absolutely brilliant. This is the complete package of Deftones in one single track. It's melodic, it's heavy, it's crunchy, it's dark, it's unlike anything you've heard. It's so original, and then also it's got the dreamy sort of bridge and chorus as well there. And I think that out of the top 3, I would probably go Headless as number 1 or 2, but I think it'll change eventually. You know, as you listen to the albums, your top 3 always kind of alternates, you know, it changes up. Ohms. Let's talk Ohms for a second. Now, Ohms was the first single that was released, and was obviously the first one that all of us heard. I was not blown away by this track. I'm still not blown away by this track. But what I will say is, when I listen to Ohms in context of the album and the sequence of the album, it makes absolute perfect sense. The album kind of brings you down, not brings you down spiritually or mentally. What I mean by brings you down, it pulls you down into this dark pit to show you what they were trying to get across in a dark but beautiful place. Not hell. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They pull you into this dark space, not a negative space, just dark, but also beautiful at the same time. You know? And for them to end the album off with Ohms was a masterstroke, because Ohms makes you feel like you're coming out of something, like you're evolving out of something, like you're spreading your wings again. It's amazing how they did that. So in context of the album, Ohms makes perfect sense for me, and you actually like the song a lot more when you understand where they placed it and why they placed it there, and why it sounds the way it sounds at that specific last track of that album. And I enjoy all of the tracks, all of them. There's not a single track that I don't like or that I don't want to listen to. I love and I listen to all of them all of the time. Okay? So, like I said in the beginning, my opinion is this is their best album. If you can point out an album for me where every single track sounds phenomenal, then I'll gladly listen. I know Pony like the back of my hand. I know Chino like the back of my hand. I know Diamond Eyes like the back of my hand. I know Self-Titled like the back of my hand. I know Adrenaline as well. But Ohms as a total package is their best work. If you disagree, comment down below and tell me why. Let's engage, let's have a conversation about this, even make a video in response to mine and tell me why you disagree. I'm totally open to it. But let's involve Teddy Date here for a second. Guys, the production on this album is second to none. That is yet another factor that we need to include here when we are trying to rate this album. If you compare it to the previous albums, this one stands out the most. Is it technology? Is it experience? Is it the latest gear? Maybe. I don't know what the reasons are, but what I can tell you is it sounds a lot better than the other albums. It sounds absolutely incredible. Everything. I've never heard a Deftones album where every single instrument shines. And it not only shines, it's inclusive, it's included into the sound. And it complements all the other sounds that's happening in the song, in the actual track. That is something very hard to pull off. So he's obviously a top tier producer, and he's obviously experienced. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's done projects with him before as well, but I feel that this one is both his and their masterpiece. This is a match made in heaven, right? So I'm going to put that one out there as well. All of the bandmates, all of them, I think this is their best work. Sergio, my goodness, Sergio, he brought a new dimension to Deftones on this album. I've never heard a Deftones album where the bass shines this much, and it actually elevates the sound to what it is on this album. I've never heard a Deftones album like that before. I have to give him kudos. I have to take my hat off to him and say, well fucking done. That was seriously impressive. Steph, I mean, come on, the guy picked up a 9-string guitar, and you can actually hear the difference instantly. The clarity. How do you make a 9-string sound clear? It's supposed to be muddied and a little filthy sounding, which I love, but how do you make a 9-string sound so incredible? On every single song you can hear the difference it makes. I'm not sure if he played all the songs with the 9-string, but I'm pretty sure it's either 8 or 9-string on all of the tracks. Wow. I think Steph also went back to his tried and tested method, which was different on Go, obviously. But I think that this was him returning to not his comfort zone, but returning to his strengths. You need to know your strengths, and I think that Steph played to his strengths on this album, and man, oh man, did he play to his strengths. The riffs were, I can't fault the riffs at all. I think it was fresh, I think it was dynamic, and also very diverse. If you listen to Pompeii and Spell of Mathematics, the work that is done on those tracks are fantastic. Away from the distorted guitar, which is what we expect on a Deftones album. So a very diverse sound, regardless of the 9 strings that he's using, still creates something different with it. Abe, I mean, come on, Abe Cunningham is Abe Cunningham. He's gonna hammer out the drums as hard as he can. But also, what I like about Abe is, we all know he's a talented drummer, but Abe reminds me of Chad Smith from Chili Peppers. Now Chad is an extremely talented drummer, but his philosophy on music is, you don't have to play your masterpiece on every single track that you play. You need to play effectively to what the song is about and what the song is trying to get across. And that, I think Abe falls into that category there, where he's more of an effective drummer, and he doesn't need the spotlight for him to do all his drum solos and all this other shit to impress people. He plays his instrument to the strength of the song. It's to complement the song, not to complement his ego. And that has always been a thing that I've admired and loved about Abe. Again, I haven't heard a Deftones album where Frank Delgado brings the heat as much as he does on this album. I mean, the amount of the presence of the synth on this album. Give me another album where it shines this much. Please tell me. Drop me a comment and tell me where and which album the synth is so fucking present and apparent. So kudos to these guys. And then last but not least, Chino. Chino's always going to be that special, distinct, unique vocalist that we know and love. I haven't gotten to know all the lyrics yet, but from what I can see so far, the lyrics are looking very, very good. And I mean, we've heard the album, so we know he's also brought his A game. What I will say is, on Go, especially on Go, I didn't like his vocals that much. I felt like it was a little too screechy and a little too forced to a certain degree. And I just felt like he was losing it slightly there on that album. I don't know if that was the artistic direction that they chose, but I was not feeling his vocals on Go. Really, I wasn't. Again, same with Steph over here. They both played to their strengths on this album. Chino brought his A game here, lyrically as well as vocally. Fair enough, we didn't get My Own Summer, Shove It, aggression, you know, we didn't get that aggressive side of Deftones here, and I'm pretty okay with that. I don't mind that at all. We cannot expect him to give us a My Own Summer and Shove It when it's just not part of his current form. And what I mean by that is people grow older, people change their lives, you know, over a decade or two. He's probably not in the same mental space to give us a Shove It, My Own Summer, or an Elite, or a Head Up. He's probably not there. He's a different person to what he was 20 years ago, guys. We can't expect the same thing out of them. Seriously, we can't. Having said that, there are those songs and moments in the album where he does show you that aggression. And he's obviously still he's telling us that he is still there, right? He's telling us he's still there by doing that, but also giving us something fresh, something that we can sing along to, something that we can connect with. I think that's where they are heading, and that's what I'm hearing on the album. They're giving us music that we can connect with at this stage of their lives. I would hate for them to feel that they need to give us something that we want. Doesn't work. Music and art doesn't work like that. Art is something that comes from within. So if you're creating art, or you are a musician in this instance, it has to come from inside, and that cannot be altered for any reason. Whatever is inside needs to come out. If this is what they are giving us because it's coming from within their souls and spirits, then that is what it is. This album is an absolute treat. I want you guys to think about it and be honest with yourselves. I know there's a lot of purists out there thinking, this guy's fucking nuts to think that this album is better, or it tops White Pony, or Koine Joken, or Diamond Eyes, or Self-Titled. Remember, my personal favorite is Diamond Eyes. I'm not saying that Diamond Eyes is better or this is better than Diamond Eyes. I'm saying this is their greatest album. We need to take our emotions and our personal preferences out of it and look outside, look from outside and think and assess the situation and be honest with ourselves. If we take that approach and take our personal preference out of it and look at what is actually there, this is the greatest album. I want you guys to tell me if I'm right or wrong. And I respect all of your opinions and all of your thoughts. This isn't about really right or wrong, but this is just something that we can assess in a mature way, and we can have fun with it as well. And at the end of the day, we can all enjoy the music together, because that's what it's all about, right? I hope. So guys, that is my review on this album. It might be a bit long-winded, and I feel that maybe it's not what you expected for me to go drill down to all the tracks and tell you what I liked and I didn't. I reacted to 5 or 6 of them, so I think that should be okay. I must say that this album is phenomenal. I'm going to repeat that and say this album is phenomenal. Kudos to Deftones, and kudos to you guys for sticking out and watching this video till the end, hopefully. Sorry if I bored the shit out of you, but I thought that I'm going to just give you my honest opinion on the album and not give you something that you've expected, you know, for me to drill down on the songs and tell you what exactly I thought about it. I just touched on them and spoke about the album more in general. I wanted to share my thoughts with you on the album. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, like and subscribe. I've got a few other requests coming through as well for other music, and I will definitely give them a go. So if you have any requests, put them down. I'll definitely try to get to most of them, and let's get this thing going. I will definitely be sharing a lot more videos regularly, and this is the last time you're going to see such shitty quality videos and sound. I've got all my stuff sorted out already. I'm just waiting on my lighting, and we're good to go on a more professional looking video. I'm going to keep it as casual as possible, but I do want to give you guys something better in terms of quality at least. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for sticking out for this video. And also like and share and comment and do whatever you need to do, and subscribe as well. And we'll see each other soon, hopefully. Enjoy the hell out of this album, guys, and let's appreciate it together for what it actually is. It's a phenomenal album. It's a great work of art that Deftones has given us, and we can be eternally grateful for that. So this is to them. Cheers to Deftones. Cheers to the guys, and this is to you as well. Peace, guys. Keep well. Take it easy. Rock on. Rest in peace. Chi. Boom.